My lords and members of the House of Commons, I am deeply grateful for the addresses of condolence.
Buckingham Palace has been rocked to its core by a royal revelation no one saw coming. Queen Camilla is said to have completely lost her composure after shocking DNA results allegedly confirmed the existence of King Charles's secret love child. For decades, rumors swirled about hidden affairs and hushed whispers in palace corridors, but now the truth may finally be out. So how long has this secret been buried? Who is this mysterious heir? And why is Camilla's reaction so intense? Let's dive in. A secret heir that shakes the monarchy to its core. For generations, the British public has whispered about the royal family's buried past, rumors of secret lovers, backdoor betrayals, and heirs born in silence. Some of these tales fizzled out with time. Others, like smoke from a long-dead fire, continued to curl around the palace gates, refusing to disappear. But none, not a single one, could have prepared the monarchy for the earth-shattering truth delivered in that letter. It wasn't scribbled in desperation or coated in drama. This wasn't a wild claim from a fame-hungry pretender hoping to snag a talk show interview. No, this was precise, professional, a full DNA report from a certified European genetics lab, signed off by experts. No loopholes, no ambiguity, just cold clinical facts, and the result? A 99.9% match, not to Prince William, not to Harry, but to King Charles III himself. When that data reached palace hands, Buckingham went into full lockdown mode. Press teams were silenced, legal departments scrambled, and internal memos were erased, as if pretending the scandal away would make it disappear. But truth has a way of slipping through even the tightest palace grip, and soon the world was buzzing. And it wasn't just the evidence that caused the eruption, it was the timing. King Charles was still finding his footing as monarch, barely steady on the throne he had waited his entire life to inherit. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla was still navigating icy public approval, desperate to cement her place in history. Then came the blow that could undo everything. A secret child, born of a relationship long buried, before Diana, before Camilla. Camilla had clawed her way to royalty, transforming from the scandalous mistress to a crowned queen. But acceptance, that was never guaranteed. Her past with Charles had already fractured the monarchy's fairy tale image. And now, this new revelation painted a far crueler picture. Not only had Charles once loved someone before her, but he had fathered a child with that woman. A child who might not seek the crown, but could demand something just as powerful, a place in the royal narrative. Inside palace walls, chaos erupted. Screams echoed through marble corridors. Family heirlooms were shattered. Legal threats piled up. And through it all, King Charles remained eerily still, as if he had seen it coming, as if he knew it was true, as if the ghost of this forgotten affair had always haunted him. This leads us to the royal secret buried for decades. But who exactly was the woman that even Diana never dared mention? The royal secret buried for decades. In the late 1970s, long before Diana would captivate the world and long before Camilla would ascend the throne beside King Charles, there was another woman, one who almost rewrote the royal script. While Camilla had just wed Andrew Parker Bowles and Diana was still navigating her teenage years, Charles, already 30 and feeling the weight of royal duty, was quietly falling for someone else, Sarah. Their affair, cloaked in secrecy, reportedly lasted over 2 years. Balmoral served as their escape, offering secluded weekends shielded from the press. Late-night phone calls were routed through loyal staff. There was even talk of a romantic trip to Italy in 1979, disguised as an official engagement. Royal insiders still whisper about a broken engagement that nearly happened, one abruptly scrapped after Queen Elizabeth allegedly deemed Sarah too independent, too emotionally perceptive to be controlled by the crown. Just like that, Sarah was erased from royal proximity. No scandal, no media frenzy. She faded from the headlines, married a French ambassador, and moved to Switzerland. But not before giving birth to a baby boy, 9 months after her last documented meeting with Charles. A former valet remembered the prince appearing unusually withdrawn that day, as if burdened by a truth he could never speak aloud. The boy grew up far from the palace gates. He was raised in Europe, well educated in elite schools, and maintained a surprisingly stable lifestyle, despite having no public lineage to wealth. His tuition was reportedly covered by a mysterious British benefactor. For his 18th birthday, a luxury car appeared, the buyer untraceable. He never chased the spotlight, yet during one discreet visit to London, he was seen slipping into a legal firm that often handles royal affairs through the rear entrance, away from public eyes. For years, it remained a whisper, one of those stories too inconvenient for newspapers and too dangerous for royal staff to confirm. Journalists tiptoed around it, fearing lawsuits. The palace flatly denied everything. Even Queen Elizabeth, in a rare private remark, brushed off the claim as mere fantasy. But as calls for royal transparency intensified, fragments of the story started to emerge. A former palace footman recalled delivering a single red rose every week to a woman Charles never quite forgot. A royal archivist was discreetly reassigned after reportedly stumbling upon hidden letters in a locked cabinet at Clarence's house. And then came the anonymous phone call to a European outlet. Charles's deepest secret, the caller said, has his exact face. Still, the official line never changed. No recognition, no apology, no comment. But behind palace walls, tension simmered. Camilla, known for her intense protectiveness, allegedly forbade Charles from ever mentioning Sarah's name. And when a trusted aide once asked the future king if he had fathered a child before Diana, Charles, so the story goes, went ghostly pale. Now, with DNA testing turning whispers into proof, a man stands ready to claim what's been long denied. His story has no royal christening, no polished family portraits, just decades of quiet existence, far from scandal but buried in silence. But if he's truly the king's firstborn, why has Buckingham Palace never dared to say his name out loud? Stay right there, because what comes next will shake the monarchy to its core. The secret son of King Charles. Sebastian David Kiel. A name whispered in exclusive circles, yet barely known to the world. His life has always been a contradiction. He's lived under a spotlight that somehow never touched him. Out in the open, but always behind a veil. Raised in privilege, yet never quite claimed. But behind his refined smile and polished manner lies a mystery that's becoming harder and harder to contain. Could he be the secret, unacknowledged son of King Charles III? Born in Geneva in early 1980, exactly 9 months after Lady Sarah Kiel's final recorded visit to the UK, Sebastian arrived without fanfare, without a listed father on his birth certificate. His mother, noble by blood and fiercely private, refused interviews, shut herself away in a quiet countryside estate outside Lausanne, and vanished from public life. From the beginning, Sebastian's world was different. His education was fully funded by a family trust. No details, just money. He attended an elite Montessori school, followed by one of Britain's most prestigious boarding schools. Teachers described him as unusually articulate, intensely inquisitive, and remarkably composed for someone so young. One instructor even joked, "It's like he was trained to stand before cameras but kept out of the frame." Then there was his appearance. Sharp jawline, closely set eyes, and a regal posture that reminded many of a young Prince Charles. One headmaster once said, "He looks like he walked straight out of Balmoral." Sebastian would only grin when asked about his resemblance, never offering more. By his 20s, he moved to London, not to chase fame or fortune, but to quietly study international law at King's College. No social media, no flashy lifestyle, yet every expense, his tuition, his rent, even his bespoke tailoring, was mysteriously covered. Friends found it odd, but never questioned it until one of them discovered that the financial trail led back to a discreet trust. A trust linked to a law firm with long-standing ties to the Duchy of Cornwall, King Charles's former estate. And then came the sightings. Sebastian entered Clarence's house, never through the front, always discreetly, after dark. No announcements, no records. One palace chauffeur recalled being warned by a superior. If she, Camilla, ever finds out he's still speaking to Charles, it'll be World War III. Sebastian has never spoken to the press, no interviews, no memoirs, but people close to him say he's always known the truth. One childhood friend remembers him at 16, opening a worn envelope and whispering, "Everything I thought I knew about myself is a lie." Now, silence gives way to something louder as the legal team of Sebastien takes action. Could the truth finally bring down the royal walls of secrecy? Stay tuned. DNA proof shakes the throne. The legal battle begins. It wasn't a dramatic press conference or a furious public rant that started it. It was something far quieter, something deeply personal. It was the coronation. The moment King Charles placed that crown on his head, the man watching from the shadows, Sebastian David Kiel, finally snapped. For over 4 decades, he had lived in the margins of a story that might have been his. Raised with whispers, questions, and quiet money, he was told to be grateful and discreet. But seeing the man he believed to be his father officially crowned king while pretending he didn't exist was too much. Something inside Sebastian shifted. He began making calls, quietly, carefully, legal consultations, confidential conversations, and eventually he initiated a DNA test. Not just any test, but one processed through a respected genetic facility in Switzerland, an elite clinic known for its discretion with royal and high-profile clients. This was not guesswork, it was science, verified by multiple third-party labs, cross-checked, and triple-reviewed. But before any test could happen, they needed a sample from King Charles himself. That's where things became explosive. A sympathetic former palace butler, still connected through private maintenance routes, was the key. He retrieved a strand of Charles's hair from a travel comb used during a recent royal engagement. The chain of custody was flawless, witnessed and documented. Meanwhile, Sebastian submitted his own sample under strict laboratory observation. The results? A staggering 99.97% genetic match to King Charles III. There was no ambiguity, no escape route, no maybe. This wasn't a delusion. Sebastian was biologically the son of the King of England, but instead of running to the tabloids, Sebastian's legal team opted for discretion. They drafted a private letter and delivered it to Clarence House. Inside, the DNA report, a short handwritten message from Sebastian, and a single request: acknowledge the truth. No titles, no fortune, just recognition. The palace's response wasn't outrage or denial. It was silence. That cold, paralyzing silence that screams louder than words ever could. One insider said it best: they didn't question the results. They already knew. In the hours that followed, all hell quietly broke loose. Camilla was pulled from public appearances without explanation. Lawyers were mobilized. Internal communications were frozen. And Charles? He didn't speak. He reportedly walked the halls like a man haunted by ghosts he never buried. Leaked the genetic report. Royal DNA bombshell. Secret heir to the throne confirmed. Crown contaminated by hidden bloodline. And just like that, the royal illusion cracked. Camilla got furious after the incident was uncovered. But is her rage hiding something even darker? Stay tuned. Behind closed doors, Camilla's fury over Charles's secret son. Long before the news broke, Camilla had built her life around carefully controlled appearances and a meticulously crafted image. She rose from the shadows of scandal to become queen consort, weathering years of public judgment as the woman who came between Charles and Diana. Yet nothing could have prepared her for the storm that would erupt when the palace's most closely guarded secret was finally exposed. Through undeniable, cold, hard science. The DNA test results arrived quietly but instantly shattered the calm facade of Clarence House. It was the moment when centuries of royal secrecy, spin, and carefully crafted stories faced a force they could no longer resist. The king had a son, another son, and not with Camilla. This revelation didn't just threaten the monarchy's public image, it struck at the very heart of Camilla's reign, shaking the foundations of everything she had fought so hard to secure. Staff who witnessed the aftermath described an atmosphere thick with tension, suffocating almost, as if the very walls of the palace were closing in. For Camilla, The scandal wasn't just a public embarrassment, it was a personal attack that felt like a war waged inside her own home. At first, the signs were subtle: a cancelled afternoon meeting with royal charities, a sudden reshuffling of her security detail, a private dinner with Charles moved from a shared room to opposite ends of the grand house, filled instead with cold distance. Then came the explosion. Sources close to the palace revealed that Camilla screamed for nearly 20 minutes upon receiving the DNA report. She retreated to her room, where, overcome with fury, she threw crystal glassware against the walls in a violent display of rage. Longtime staff members recalled never hearing such intense anger from her before. One maid reportedly left the suite in tears, stunned by the queen consort's breakdown. It was clear. It was about the undeniable proof of a living child, a son with royal blood, whose existence challenged Camilla's place by the king's side. For years, Camilla had faced the world as the other woman, enduring scorn and headlines branding her a homewrecker. She survived those storms. She triumphed, marrying Charles and rising to become queen consort. But now, just as her coronation seemed imminent, the past returned, not as whispers or rumors, but as flesh and blood. This man, Sebastian, came armed with DNA proof, media backing, and the power to unravel the carefully spun narrative of Camilla's queenship with a single, honest interview. The palace scrambled to contain the fallout. Camilla demanded that legal teams discredit Sebastian's claims, belittle him publicly, and threaten any media outlets daring to report the story. But Charles himself remained unusually silent. His quietness only deepened her fury, leading to accusations that the ghost of Diana was haunting and ruining them all over again. Her anger was so intense that she reportedly slammed doors hard enough to break door frames, not because she was dangerous to others, but because she was completely out of control. Insiders say what stung the most was the public's sympathy for Sebastian. He didn't shout demands or chase royal titles. All he sought was acknowledgement. His calm and dignified approach made Camilla's furious outbursts look even worse. In a leaked message to a close friend, Camilla confessed her fears. "They will paint him as the rightful heir. They will make me look like a fraud again. After all, after everything I've sacrificed." Courtiers whisper that her emotional unraveling was reminiscent of Diana's most intense moments of despair, an agonizing mix of sadness, anxiety, and desperation. Behind closed doors, the poised queen had become a woman unraveling under pressure. What terrified Camilla most was the possibility of being replaced by a ghost from the past, by a secret, by a son who, by blood, could challenge her very claim to the throne. She was ready to fight fiercely to protect her crown and her position. As the chaos echoed through Clarence House and Camilla's rage reverberated behind closed doors, a different kind of silence settled elsewhere in the palace. But for Prince William and Kate, what was their true reaction to this royal earthquake, and how would it shape the future of the monarchy? Stay with us, because the story is far from over. William and Kate's response to the royal DNA revelation. Princess Catherine stood firm, not just for the cameras, but to protect the monarchy's fragile future. Her calm and steady expression was not indifference. It was a show of careful control in the eye of a storm. The palace was rattled by the explosive DNA revelations, and while whispers of betrayal echoed through its halls, William and Kate stayed silent. Behind closed doors, they tightened their inner circle, observing the chaos like skilled chess players mapping out their next moves. William was reportedly shaken, but not shocked. Rumors of a secret half-brother had floated through royal circles for years, whispered by palace staff, tutors, and even gossip columns. But nothing had ever been proven, until now. With the DNA results confirmed and leaked, the stakes couldn't be higher. This wasn't just a family scandal anymore. It threatened public trust, the line of succession, and the monarchy's fragile reputation in a world that increasingly demands honesty and transparency. Insiders reveal William's clear message to his advisors: "We do not interfere. We do not smear. We wait and prepare. His focus was sharp and simple: to protect his children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. They are the monarchy's future, and any disruption from this secret half-uncle could shift public opinion, spark palace intrigue, and threaten the carefully maintained image of royal stability. William, raised for this kind of pressure, chose quiet strength over royal drama. Kate, his unwavering partner, was his anchor. Behind palace walls, she gave firm advice, reminding him of the power of dignity and composure. Out in public, their appearances remained flawless, affectionate, and calm. They attended children's events, supported charities, and greeted dignitaries, all while hiding the storm raging beneath the surface. Meanwhile, Kate quietly took action. Sources say she organized a team of internal media experts to track every headline, tweet, and video about Sebastian's sudden rise. Their goal wasn't censorship, but understanding, to read the public mood and anticipate its shifts. And what they found was surprising. Sympathy wasn't with Camilla or even Charles. Instead, the public seemed to feel for Sebastian, a calm, composed man, simply seeking recognition. This royal crisis was far from over. The palace was bracing for what came next, knowing the world's eyes were now wide open. Public reaction was about to erupt. But what would it reveal? Could the monarchy survive this unprecedented test? Stay glued to your screen. Public outcry over royal DNA scandal. With every new day, the pressure on Buckingham Palace to make a public statement grew louder and harder to ignore. Whispers in the media turned into demands from the public, and questions swirled around the royal family's silence. Some believed Prince William might reach out directly to Sebastian, the man who carried the unmistakable bloodline of King Charles III. Others guessed William was watching closely, waiting to see if Charles would break the silence, or if the quiet would swallow them all whole. Whatever the plan, one thing was crystal clear: William and Kate had learned from the past. They knew how disastrously the palace had mishandled Princess Diana's situation, and they were determined not to make the same mistakes again. While Camilla appeared to be crumbling under the weight of the scandal, and Charles seemed to hide behind closed, old-fashioned doors, William and Kate quietly moved with precision. They had already prepared for the monarchy's survival in moments like this. Their approach was simple, yet powerful. Stay calm, be ready, and act decisively when the moment was right. For years, the secret had been nothing more than a shadow, a quiet rumor whispered behind thick velvet curtains, known by those who saw too much but dared not speak. But now, the truth was undeniable. The DNA test left no room for doubt. Sebastian, a man raised away from the public eye, far from the royal spotlight, shared the blood of a king. His sharp eyes, the way he carried himself, even his voice, echoed Charles in ways that were impossible to ignore. Science had given Sebastian the truth, and the world undeniable proof. Camilla's furious outbursts, slammed doors, and terrified warnings about losing her place made headlines, revealing a queen whose grip on power was never as secure as it seemed. But the real story, the real trouble, went much deeper. At the heart of the monarchy lay years of secrecy, a legacy built on silence and denial. And in the middle of it all stood Charles, whose quiet response spoke volumes. No one could deny Sebastian's existence any longer. He was real. He was royal. Even if he never claimed a crown, just his presence threatened to strip it from those who held it now. For centuries, the monarchy has portrayed itself as untouchable, a symbol of divine and unbroken continuity. But this story reveals something far more human and dangerous. Royals bleed, they lie, they hide secrets. And sometimes the truth doesn't stay hidden. It arrives at the palace door wrapped in a birth certificate and backed by a DNA test. William and Kate might be able to control the damage, and the palace might spin its version of events. But this chapter is written forever. The royal secret has finally come to light. But how will this affect the future of the monarchy? And what impact will it have on Camilla? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.